Hey kiddos, hope you guys are good. Mr. Evans here. Yesterday we looked at the epidemiologic transition model, right? Kind of sounds like demographic transition model, and they are very closely related to each other. Because epidemiology is the study of diseases. So this is basically saying what types of diseases impact countries at different stages in their development. All right, less developed countries get different types of the diseases than more developed countries have. And that's what this model attempts to explain. So let's go through it. So here's our 5 stages of the demographic transition model. Death rates are blue, birth rates are red, and this just shows you if your population's going up or down. Anything above 0, your population is rising. Sorry, annoying computer. All right, so stage 1 countries. Remember, there aren't any left in the world. That was a time of pestilence and plague. Those were like the massive diseases that killed huge percentages of people, like the Black Death and smallpox. Stage 2 countries. These are our less developed countries in the world. We call them the periphery sometimes, and they are most impacted by infectious diseases. Things like cholera, tuberculosis that spread from person to person. All right? By stage 3, you have more people living in cities. Women are getting educated. Technology is increasing. And so stage 3, you have receding pandemics, or you have receding infectious diseases. So your risk from infectious diseases goes down. Your risk from old age diseases goes up. And by stage 4, the most likely diseases are degenerative diseases. Degenerative just means it's a slow decline over time. These are the old person's diseases. So cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, things you get when you're old, you're likely to see that in stage 4 and 5 of the epidemiologic transition, okay? 5 is when you have all old people, so that's like all degenerative diseases. All right, today we're gonna look at pro and anti-natalist policies. I don't know if you have a family member who's had a baby, but with pregnant women get what's called prenatal care. Natal just means baby. It's like the medical term for baby. All right. And so basically, there are some countries that want their population to have more babies. Those would be pro-natalist. There are some countries working to convince their people to have less babies. Those would be anti-natalist. All right. We'll just talk about how those policies work. Sorry, my light went out. All right. So depending on your country's population and the trajectory of its population, is it growing or shrinking, you're going to enact pro or anti-natalist policies. So it just goes to, it's kind of logical. If you're a stage 2 country and you have this explosion of babies, your fertility and birth rates are really high, you're probably going to want anti-natalist policies, something that's going to convince people to have less babies. So that increases your dependency rate. Thank you, Ms. Chris. It will decrease your dependency rate because you're not spending all your money taking care of the babies. All right. Now, on the flip side, if you're Russia or Japan or any of those countries experiencing negative population growth, you're pro-natalist. You need more babies to eventually join the workforce and pay taxes and contribute to society. All right. So Eastern Russia, Eastern Europe, and Russia, all these countries in pink. Here's Russia. Gosh. Russia, Ukraine, Poland, Germany. These are countries that have declining populations, and so many of these governments implemented pro-natalist policies, but it's really tricky because how do you convince people to have kids? It's, reproductive decisions are the most important a family makes. And so generally speaking, the government needs to find ways to make childbearing and parenting easier. Okay, what does that look like? Well, it looks like financial and social services from the government. So in many countries, including the United States, you get tax breaks for having children. You have a kid, you pay less in taxes. That's an economic incentive. In almost every country in the world, except for the brown ones, this is crazy, right? United States, Australia, and like Liberia, women have paid maternity leave. That means they continue to get a paycheck while they're taking care of their newborn baby. All right. Some countries like the Scandinavian countries, Sweden comes to mind, they have paid paternity leave. So not just the mom, but the father also gets to leave, take time off of work, keep getting paid so they can responsibly and easily raise a child. And then many countries have free childcare. So like daycare is free. You drop your child off at a government daycare, go do your work, come back. And so it's financially possible to have more babies. And it's just easier to parent a child if you know there's high quality free childcare for them. France does some kind of extraordinary things. In France, they actually send a kind of nanny and like housekeeper to your house for a couple hours a week, whether it's to watch the kid while you run errands, or they'll even like clean the house, clean the dishes, do laundry, all of that stuff, just to make life a little bit easier for parents, because France wants people to have more babies. All right, these are pro-natalist policies. Russia is the craziest one. I'm not sure if they still do it. I think they do. There was actually like a holiday in Russia called Procreation Day, where couples get off from work and they're supposed to go make babies. And if you have a child 9 months after Procreation Day, so like to the day, 9 months later, you win all these prizes from the government. Like here, people are getting like cars and stuff from the government. And so it's kind of an extreme version of a pro-natalist policy, this like baby lottery in Russia. Flip it. Anti-natalist policies. Countries where the population is growing too fast and want to slow the growth need to find ways to convince people to have less babies. All right? This is what Ethiopia's population pyramid would look like in 2050 if all patterns continue. Lots and lots and lots of young people, right? Millions and millions of young people screwing up the dependency ratio. But it's hard to figure that out too. Generally speaking, the single best way to reduce fertility rate is to ensure that all girls and young women get an education. Educated women have less babies. It's the best thing you can do. Not only will it grow your economy, but it will help the challenges you have with your population. Other countries make sure that women have access to birth control, right? Whether that's the pill or an IUD, female condom, that women have control over their own reproductive rights and can choose when and when not to have babies. And then in some of the more religious countries in school, they teach abstinence, which means don't have sex. It's probably the least effective of the three. I think they're kind of in order. Like if I was a government, I would first make sure that all girls and young women go to school. I would provide access to birth control, and the least effective, but many countries do it, is encourage abstinence. Probably the most famous, well, definitely the most famous anti-natalist policy was the one-child policy, where China passed laws limiting the number of children families could have. We're going to do a day in depth all about the one-child policy, so I'm not going to go too much into detail here. But people were fired, paid fines, taxes. Tragically, women had their rights violated, and many had underwent forced sterilization, where they were no longer able to have children again. But here's like this last visual. You're going to see this on your work today. This is just like kind of a comparison of Germany, which is an MDC, a highly developed country in Europe, Nigeria, an LDC in sub-Saharan Africa, and China, and NIC. But keep in mind, China's a dictator, so the government can do kind of whatever they want there. And this is their family planning methods. In Germany, by far the largest is women using birth control pill. 25% of German women aren't using any method of family planning. All right. China, look at their largest. Because of the government, they have sterilization programs where either women have their tubes tied or men get vasectomies and can no longer procreate or have children. All right. Nigeria, LDC, with a huge expanding of population. The vast majority, 85% of women, are not using any birth control. That helps explain why the population is growing at such a rapid clip, and maybe they should provide access for the women if they want to get population challenges under control. All right, kiddos, reach out with questions or concerns. Bye.